In the realm of entertainment, reality often takes a back seat to spectacle. This is particularly true when it comes to the portrayal of weaponry, where rocket launchers often become tools of unrealistic destruction. However, let's shed some light on the pervasive misconceptions that hover around these intimidating armaments in video games and movies. Number 1. Unlimited ammunition. Debunking the myth of endless rocket supply. As any serious gamer or action movie aficionado can tell you, few things ramp up the adrenaline rush quite like the sight of a protagonist pulling out a rocket launcher. One popular trope that seems to accompany these scenes, particularly in the gaming world, is the seemingly endless supply of rockets that the launcher can fire. This misconception may be born from a desire to keep the gameplay exciting or the movie plot intense, but the reality of ammunition supply for rocket launchers is quite different. In the real world, rocket launchers are usually designed to be reloadable or disposable, but neither category offers an unlimited supply of ammunition. Reloadable rocket launchers, like the classic RPG-7, have to be manually reloaded after every shot, and the ammunition itself is far from small or lightweight. Each rocket is a separate entity that needs to be carried along and loaded into the launcher after every shot. This process is not only time-consuming, but also physically demanding due to the weight and size of the rockets. Disposable rocket launchers, on the other hand, like the M72 Law, are single-use weapons. Once the rocket is fired, the entire launcher is discarded and a new one is required to fire again. This clearly undermines the idea of unlimited ammunition, as the supply is explicitly limited to one per launcher. Moreover, the ammunition for rocket launchers is not just limited by the number of rockets a person can carry. There are also logistic factors like the cost, availability, and transport of such weaponry. Ammunition for rocket launchers is costly and complex to produce, making it far from unlimited even on a national or global scale. Number 2. Rocket speed. The unrealistic portrayal of projectile velocity. The portrayal of rocket speed in video games and movies often deviates significantly from reality. It is not uncommon to see rockets being launched at a speed akin to a thrown baseball, allowing protagonists to track their shot's course visually or dodge incoming rocket fire. This depiction creates a thrill, a sense of suspense, but unfortunately, it is another example of art straying from reality. In the real world, the speed of rockets varies based on the design, but they are universally much faster than what is shown in most games and movies. For example, the RPG-7, a commonly portrayed weapon, can fire a rocket at speeds up to 295 meters per second, which is over 650 miles per hour. This speed is far beyond human reaction times. By the time you've seen the rocket, it's likely already hit its target. Not only does this unrealistic portrayal distort audience perceptions about rocket speed, but it also misrepresents how combat involving rocket launchers actually occurs. In reality, the high speed of rockets leaves little room for in-flight corrections or second chances. It's a matter of point, fire, and hope your aim was correct. The truth about rocket speed reveals how distorted the representation of rocket launchers is in video games and movies. While slowing rockets down might add to the suspense or enable more strategic gameplay, it's a far cry from the nearly instantaneous, high-speed reality of rocket warfare. Number 3. Blast radius overstatement. The exaggerated explosive range in games and movies. Another lie commonly propagated in games and movies is the overstated blast radius of rockets. These portrayals often show rockets causing wide-scale devastation, leveling entire buildings, or wiping out multiple enemies spread out over a large area. While it's true that rockets are potent explosives, the real impact radius is typically much less dramatic. The actual blast radius of a rocket depends on the type of weapon and ammunition used. For instance, the RPG-7, widely depicted in games and movies, has a lethal blast radius of about 7 meters. Beyond this, the chances of survival increase drastically. Certainly, debris can cause additional damage further afield, but it's a far cry from the city block leveling explosions often shown on screen. The exaggerated portrayal of the blast radius serves several purposes in a game or movie context. It can make the gameplay more thrilling, allowing a single shot to wipe out a group of enemies, or make for visually dramatic movie scenes. It's important, though, for audiences to understand that these representations are highly exaggerated. In real-world combat situations, rocket launchers are used primarily against armored vehicles or fortified positions rather than against spread-out infantry. Their effectiveness comes from their ability to deliver a focused, high-impact blast rather than a wide-area effect. This is another example where the exciting world of entertainment diverges sharply from the more pragmatic realities of warfare. Number 4. Non-existent recoil, the ignored physics of firing a rocket launcher. Another element frequently misrepresented in games and movies is the lack of recoil when firing a rocket launcher. Characters often unleash rocket-powered devastation with the casual ease of tossing a frisbee, ignoring the substantial force such a weapon would exert on the user. In reality, firing a rocket launcher generates a significant amount of recoil. This is due to Newton's third law of motion, which states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. When a rocket is launched, the force propelling the rocket forward also pushes backward on the launcher, and by extension, the person firing it. While some rocket launchers, like the RPG-7, are designed to mitigate this recoil force through the use of a recoilless design, where a counterforce is expelled from the back of the launcher, it does not eliminate it entirely. Additionally, the design means that a large backblast area is created behind the user, which can be equally as dangerous as the rocket itself. This is a far cry from the effortless, recoil-free firing often seen in games and movies. This portrayal is not merely a harmless departure from reality. It can give an unrealistic expectation of how such weapons operate and can lead to dangerous misunderstandings. Rocket launchers are powerful, heavy-duty pieces of military hardware, and their use involves significant physical challenges and risks. Number 5. Soundless launches, the absence of rocket-firing noise in some portrayals. The silencing of rocket launches in some video games and movies is a lie that stands out starkly against the reality of such events. Rocket launches are, by nature, extremely loud. This noise is a result of the extreme forces and energies involved in propelling a rocket at high speeds. In reality, the firing of a rocket is accompanied by a deafening blast. It is so loud that it can be disorienting or even temporarily deafening for those nearby, and could certainly give away the position of anyone trying to remain concealed. The noise can also result in permanent hearing damage if appropriate protection is not used. However, in some games and movies, characters launch rockets in near silence, with enemies conveniently oblivious to their impending doom. This depiction aids in the creation of surprise attacks and maintains dialogue audibility during action scenes. However, it paints a grossly inaccurate picture of real-life rocket launches. The reality is that without proper hearing protection, the firing of a rocket launcher would be far from a quiet affair. This disparity between reality and fiction is one of many examples where dramatic or gameplay needs override the portrayal of factual information, contributing to misconceptions about how these weapons operate. Number 6. Inaccurate targeting systems. Misconceptions about rocket launcher precision. A common trope in games and movies is the presentation of rocket launchers as weapons of perfect precision. The idea that one can simply point a rocket launcher at any target, fire, and the rocket will flawlessly hit its mark, regardless of distance or environmental conditions, is a gross simplification. In reality, operating a rocket launcher accurately requires training, skill, and the right circumstances. Factors such as wind speed and direction, gravity, and the movement of the target all need to be considered. These challenges are compounded at longer ranges, where slight errors in aim can result in significant deviations from the intended target. Additionally, not all rocket launchers are designed for precision strikes. Some are meant for area saturation or anti-fortification roles, where the exact impact point of the rocket is less critical. More advanced rocket launchers may feature guidance systems to aid in hitting moving targets or specific locations, but these systems are not perfect and can be fooled or jammed. This misconception of precision without effort, like movie scene. Number 7. One-handed operation, the impossibility of single-hand firing. One of the most prevalent. Number 7. One-handed operation, the impossibility of single-hand firing. One of the most prevalent misconceptions in video games and movies is the portrayal of rocket launchers as weapons that can be operated with a single hand. Characters effortlessly wield these powerful weapons, firing them one-handed while engaging in intense combat scenarios. However, this depiction is far removed from the reality of operating a rocket launcher. Rocket launchers are heavy and unwieldy weapons. They are designed to be fired from the shoulder, with the operator using both hands to stabilize and control the weapon during the firing process. The weight and size of a rocket launcher alone make it highly impractical, if not impossible, to fire with one hand. In addition to the physical weight, the recoil produced when a rocket is fired adds to the challenge of single-handed operation. The force generated by the launch creates a significant backward thrust, which requires both hands to effectively absorb and control the recoil. Attempting to fire a rocket launcher with one hand would result in a loss of control, accuracy, and potentially even injury to the operator. Furthermore, the act of loading a rocket into the launcher necessitates the use of both hands. Proper alignment and securing of the rocket are crucial to ensure a safe and accurate launch. It would be virtually impossible to accomplish this task effectively with only one hand. The portrayal of one-handed rocket launcher operation in games and movies is largely driven by the desire for cinematic flair and convenience. It allows characters to engage in dynamic combat sequences without sacrificing the use of their other hand for additional weapons or equipment. However, this depiction distorts the reality of operating such heavy, powerful weapons. Number 8. Instantaneous reload. Unrealistic portrayals of recharging. One of the prevalent falsehoods perpetuated in video games and movies is the portrayal of rocket launcher reloads as instantaneous. Characters are often shown effortlessly inserting a new rocket into the launcher with minimal effort and no time delay between shots. However, this depiction ignores the realistic complexities and time-consuming nature of reloading a rocket launcher. In reality, reloading a rocket launcher is a process that requires time, precision, and physical effort. Each rocket needs to be individually loaded into the launcher, aligned correctly, and secured in place. The process cannot be accomplished with a simple flick of the wrist or a swift motion. It takes a significant amount of time and concentration to ensure the rocket is properly loaded and ready for firing. Moreover, the weight and size of rockets add further complexity to the reloading process. Rockets for rocket launchers are not small or lightweight objects. They are substantial, heavy projectiles that require careful handling to avoid damage or misalignment during the reload. This means that reloading a rocket launcher is not a quick and effortless action, but a deliberate and meticulous task. By portraying instantaneous reloads, games and movies create a misleading impression that using a rocket launcher is a seamless, uninterrupted process. It eliminates the tension and realistic time constraints associated with reloading, which can add strategic depth and challenge to gameplay or enhance the pacing of a scene. Understanding the time-consuming nature of reloading rocket launchers is crucial for appreciating the skill and training required to effectively use these weapons. It also emphasizes the importance of strategic decision-making during combat situations, as players or characters need to account for the time it takes to reload and plan their actions accordingly. Number 9. Lack of backblast. Ignoring the dangers from behind. One of the critical safety aspects ignored in many video games and movies involving rocket launchers is the lack of backblast awareness. Backblast refers to the explosive energy and gases expelled from the rear of a rocket launcher when a rocket is fired. Neglecting this aspect and portraying characters firing rocket launchers without any consideration for the dangers posed to individuals behind them is a significant misrepresentation. In reality, the backblast from a rocket launcher is extremely hazardous. It can cause severe injury or even death to anyone standing in the path of the expelled gases. The high-pressure blast can inflict burns, concussive injuries, or propel debris at high speeds, resulting in shrapnel wounds. Proper backblast safety procedures are crucial when operating rocket launchers. This includes ensuring that the backblast area is clear of any personnel, obstacles, or flammable materials. Failure to adhere to these safety measures can have catastrophic consequences, not only for the individuals directly in the line of the backblast, but also for nearby structures or equipment. However, in many games and movies, this danger is overlooked or disregarded for the sake of visual appeal or convenience. Characters fire rocket launchers without any concern for the safety of their allies or innocent bystanders behind them. This misrepresentation perpetuates a dangerous misconception and undermines the importance of following proper safety protocols. Understanding and respecting the dangers associated with backblast is crucial for anyone operating or being in close proximity to a rocket launcher. Real-world military personnel undergo extensive training on backblast safety to ensure that accidents and injuries are avoided. By glossing over this critical safety consideration, games and movies contribute to a distorted perception of rocket launchers. They fail to emphasize the importance of proper training, precautions, and awareness when handling these powerful weapons. Neglecting the dangers of backblast not only perpetuates misinformation, but also jeopardizes the safety of both fictional characters and real-life individuals who may be inspired by these portrayals. Number 10. Convenient carry. the oversimplification of portability. The effortless portability of rocket launchers in video games and movies is a misrepresentation that significantly downplays the realities of handling such weaponry. Characters are often shown casually carrying rocket launchers, along with an assortment of other weapons with no sign of struggle or encumbrance. In reality, rocket launchers are bulky, unwieldy, and heavy. As mentioned earlier, the RPG-7, one of the lighter launchers, still weighs around 15 to 20 pounds with a loaded rocket. This weight doesn't account for additional ammunition, which also needs to be carried and can weigh several pounds each. Moving around with a rocket launcher, particularly in a combat situation, is a cumbersome affair that would slow down the carrier and require significant strength and endurance. It's not something that could be done casually or without preparation. This misrepresentation of rocket launcher portability adds to the collection of misconceptions propagated by games and movies. The truth of the matter is that using and transporting these weapons requires significant physical effort and has a noticeable impact on mobility. Number 11. Explosive impact. Misinterpretation of the real destruction caused. The destructive power of rocket launchers is frequently exaggerated in video games and movies. Rockets are often shown destroying tanks, large vehicles, buildings, and even aircraft with a single well-placed shot. While rockets are certainly powerful and capable of inflicting significant damage, their destructive power is not unlimited. In reality, the effectiveness of a rocket against a target depends on various factors, including the type of rocket, the target, and where the target is hit. For example, while a rocket can damage or disable a tank, destroying it outright with a single shot is unlikely unless a specific weak point is hit. The same goes for buildings or other large structures. Furthermore, most rocket launchers aren't designed to be used against aircraft at all. The high speed and altitude of planes make them challenging targets for a weapon designed to be fired from the shoulder. By exaggerating the destructive power of rocket launchers, games and movies mislead audiences about the capabilities and limitations of these weapons. While they're undoubtedly powerful, they're not the all-destroying superweapons they're often portrayed as. Number 12. Fire and forget. The misunderstood mechanisms of guiding rockets. Fire and forget is a term used to describe weapon systems that do not require further guidance after launch. This phrase has been liberally applied to rocket launchers in video games and movies, often misleading the audience into thinking that once a rocket is fired, it will automatically track and hit the target. While there are some advanced missile systems that possess fire and forget capabilities, such as the Javelin anti-tank missile, it's essential to understand that these are exceptions and not the norm. Most rocket launchers do not have any sort of tracking or guidance system and rely on the user's aim for accuracy. Moreover, even for systems with fire and forget capabilities, they are not foolproof. These systems can be interfered with, jammed, or deceived, and they require a clear line of sight to the target. The propagation of the idea that all rocket launchers are fire and forget systems fosters an unrealistic understanding of how most of these weapons function. Number 13. Direct impact requirement. The myth of needing direct contact to detonate. Another misconception propagated by popular media is the notion that rockets need to make direct contact with a target to detonate. In numerous scenes, rockets are seen to strike a surface without exploding, often for dramatic effect. While it's true that some rockets are designed to detonate on impact, others are designed to explode above or near their target, causing damage through the shockwave and shrapnel. This is often the case with anti-personnel or anti-aircraft rockets. Furthermore, many rockets have safety mechanisms that cause them to self-detonate if they don't hit a target within a certain distance or time frame. This ensures that unexploded rockets don't pose a threat after firing. By perpetuating the direct impact myth, popular media oversimplifies the complexity and variety of rocket detonation mechanisms, leading to a distorted understanding of how these weapons function. Number 14. Quick mastery, the oversimplified learning curve in games and movies. Perhaps one of the most misleading portrayals in video games and movies is the quick mastery of rocket launchers. Characters are often depicted picking up a rocket launcher for the first time and using it effectively and accurately, as if years of training and experience are unnecessary. The reality of learning to use a rocket launcher is far more complicated and time-consuming. These are sophisticated weapons systems, and effectively operating them requires a solid understanding of their mechanics, safe handling procedures, and how to aim and adjust for environmental factors. Firstly, the operator needs to understand the basic operation of the launcher. This involves knowing how to load and unload rockets safely, how to aim the launcher, and how to fire it. These are not always straightforward tasks, particularly with some of the more advanced launchers. Improper handling can lead to misfires, jams, or even accidents. Secondly, the operator needs to learn how to aim the launcher accurately. As mentioned earlier, various factors can affect the trajectory of a rocket, including wind speed and direction, gravity, and the movement of the target. Accurately compensating for these factors requires understanding how they influence the rocket's flight and how to adjust the aim accordingly. This is a skill that takes time and practice to develop. All of these skills and knowledge take time and training to acquire. It's not something that can be picked up in a matter of minutes or even hours. The portrayal of quick mastery in games and movies not only misrepresents the complexity and skill involved in operating these weapons, but also downplays the importance of proper training and safety procedures. Number 15. Hollywood pyrotechnics. The dramatized explosion effects. One of the most visually striking misrepresentations of rocket launchers in movies and games is the portrayal of their explosive effects. Often, the detonations are depicted with large fireballs and grandiose shock waves, causing extensive, visually spectacular destruction. This portrayal significantly dramatizes the actual explosion effects and creates a false impression of what a rocket explosion looks like. In reality, rocket explosions don't usually result in the massive fireballs seen in movies. Most rockets use high explosives that, when detonated, create a powerful shock wave and a quick, bright flash, but not a large, lingering ball of fire. The purpose of these explosives is to produce a shock wave that can penetrate armor or cause damage to structures or personnel, not to create a visually impressive fireball. Moreover, the shock waves from rocket explosions are often depicted inaccurately. In movies and games, they are often shown as visible, rippling waves that throw people and objects around dramatically. Real shock waves are generally invisible, and their effects, while potentially devastating, are not as visually dramatic as depicted in media. The exaggerated destruction caused by rocket explosions in movies and games is also misleading. While rockets can cause significant damage, they're not capable of the large-scale destruction often depicted. For example, a single rocket is unlikely to bring down a large building or cause a huge crater. The damage caused is generally localized to the point of impact and the immediate surrounding area. This dramatic misrepresentation of rocket explosions is largely due to the rule of cool, a common principle in entertainment that prioritizes exciting, visually spectacular scenes over realism. While these exaggerated explosion effects can make for more entertaining and visually appealing scenes, it's important to understand that they are not a realistic portrayal of how rocket explosions work or the extent of damage they can cause.